basically found in the performance audit. It turns out residents of Rocky Mount were right to worry about their city and the financial condition of the city of Rocky Mount. What we found was a former city manager in charge of everything from carrying out policies and ordinances to managing day-to-day operations, who went unchecked and was held unaccountable for years. He was hired without due diligence. While he was employed, the city council failed to effectively monitor the significant overspending taking place. And this is a story of checks and balances for 2 years, and the fact is there were none in Rocky Mount. Let's start with the former city manager. City of Rocky Mount employed an executive search firm for $38,000 to recruit the city manager, and despite that consultant's own description of the city manager as a, quote, stretch candidate, there's no evidence the city council performed reference checks or any due diligence. We did due diligence, and what we found was red flag after red flag, including the fact that he had previously been the town manager of Dumfries, Virginia, and during his time there, we found recurring issues of poor management and poor decision making, including a pattern of unqualified hires, questionable salary increases without council approval, inadequate segregation of duties, and structurally unsound budgeting. Those deficiencies in that community ultimately resulted in a $1 million overspend by the city manager. Yet the Rocky Mount City Council voted unanimously to hire him. What followed during the city manager's tenure was significant overspending. Put simply, the city just spent more than it had and went past its own means. Costs were going up while cash took a nosedive at an incredibly fast pace. Between August 2023 and August 2025, the city's cash and investment balances declined by approximately $80 million, falling from about $100 million to $21.8 million. An astonishing 78% drop in 2 years. During this same period, city spending increased while revenues declined, accelerating a financial crisis. Personnel-related expenditures increased 27% between fiscal year 2023 and fiscal year 2025, reaching $62.4 million. Citywide salary adjustments added $3.2 million recurring annually to payroll, and an additional $621,000 plus in holiday bonuses were paid despite declining cash balances. Capital spending also increased 153% from fiscal year 2023 to fiscal year 2024, totaling $67.4 million. Those capital projects included, for example, $17.2 million spent on land for a proposed casino and entertainment complex that never materialized. That land, I believe, is still for sale. $11.2 million spent redeveloping Fire Station Number 2, nearly triple the original estimate. $6.8 million for a lump sum vehicle lease agreement. $6.6 million for additional equipment purchases, including fire trucks and heavy machinery. Auditors found, our team found purchases made without thorough financial feasibility analysis and attempts by the former city manager to bypass city council approval for financing equipment purchases. While the city experienced a 27% increase in employee compensation and 153% increase in capital purchases, this increased spending coincided with a 2% decrease in city revenues. And as a result, all this overspending, residents are the ones that ultimately are getting hit. The city has now paused projects, eliminated 86 full-time positions, approximately 10% of the staff, decreased the budget for part-time staffing, raised property taxes and utility rates for residents, resulting in an average increase of $20 per month for natural gas and $8 per month for electricity for a typical household. Former city manager, by the way, also received almost $170,000 in a separation payment. As I mentioned, we also released an investigative special report. We found the same city manager entered into a nearly $800,000 contract without proper city council approval. $385,610 was actually paid on that contract, but was ultimately terminated. Again, the former city manager in that instance acted without transparency or accountability. So this is ultimately not a salacious report, but it is a true picture of exactly what has happened in the city of Rocky Mount. It's not our job to create a narrative. It's our job to get the facts and let the data tell the true story. My office has heard overwhelming public concern and interest in this investigation. I want to thank our team. You know, it is been the blessing of my life to be elected state auditor among having my 4 great kids and my wonderful wife. But that blessing really is the professional team that works here at the state auditor's office that does the work on behalf of the people of North Carolina. While I am involved, I'm not up there in Rocky Mount every day doing the hard work. These folks right here who are part of the team are actually doing it. They deserve all the credit for the work on this particular issue. So what did we say? One of the things we have and our team is really committed to is solid recommendations. Those recommendations include mandating comprehensive financial impact analysis, ensuring qualified financial leadership. We find that as a problem across the state of North Carolina, financial leadership, regardless of the size of the community, finding financial competencies to lead a municipality or a county or any unit of government is a challenge because there is a shortage of those professionals. Enforce timely account reconciliation. We also see that. You saw that this last week in Winston-Salem, for example, with the Winston-Salem Forsyth County Schools, which didn't reconcile their books. Rocky Mount needs to be more diligent with reconciling their books. Governance oversight needs to be increased. I was asked at the recent mayor's convention, what is my biggest piece of advice? I got that from mayors, and they asked me, and I said, well, probably my biggest piece of advice, and I learned this as chair of the board at UNC Chapel Hill, and I've learned it now in almost 15 months on the job as state auditor, and that is, if you're a city council person, school board member, county commissioner, and you're in a meeting and you're talking about the budget of your community, you got to remember, one, you've been elected by the people to make sure that things run right, period. And when that little spark in your mind goes off, hey, maybe I should ask a question about this, you should ask the question. And my recommendation to the mayors was I would err on the side of micromanagement over not asking a question. Because when you don't ask questions and you don't dig into the details, this is what happens. You take a fantastic community in eastern North Carolina, which is the city of Rocky Mount, and you run it up on the beach, and it becomes a financial mess. And now the citizens are going to have to band together to dig the city of Rocky Mount ultimately out of this hole. So government leaders at all levels should have courage and backbone to ask tough questions and get in the weeds to make sure that the professionals that are hired to run the city, county, or state agency are doing it the way the people expect. Because ultimately, I say it all the time, government doesn't run on government money. Government runs on the people's money. And it's the people's money that government spends at all levels. So, we're hopeful that things will turn around in Rocky Mount, but our recent reports and the follow-up that our team has been doing, I'd like to be able to say that the city of Rocky Mount is on the right path, but I'm not in a position to say that today. So with that being said, we did release the full audit. There are other recommendations there. Again, I know this is not a salacious report, but this is a factual, data-driven report. I want to add 2 other things, though. One is our team is still engaged with the city of Rocky Mount. We're engaged in two places specifically, and we will follow up on this performance audit as well. But one is with the new technology that we built at the state auditor's office, we're actively analyzing the P card, which is the purchase card transactions of the city of Rocky Mount, so we'll be issuing a report on that. And we are also, you know, a lot of people don't realize we do have an information systems audit team here at the state auditor's office. The primary work, the bread and butter work of that team is to audit cybersecurity protections across state government, but we have professionals able to engage in other information systems audits. So we've engaged the utilities of Rocky Mount because of the billing issues that occurred at the end of last year. Our information systems team is analyzing that system to make sure that it is what the people of the city of Rocky Mount expect. So those reports will be forthcoming, but we felt it was really important to go ahead and move along. I know a lot of people have been waiting to see this, but I'll take a few questions. And if I don't have the answer, I'm going to ask Deputy Utley to answer the question.
Something that really sticks with me is you said the people of Rocky Mount, you're right. You know, again, there is a similar level of distrust regarding the utility billing issue. Is there any reason to believe that they could be correct in some of their assumptions about this?
Well, I don't want to draw any conclusions, but the people of Rocky Mount were right about this situation. I mean, I will just tell you, I spent, you know, we had a booth at the state fair, letting people know that they have a state auditor, and I did my 2-hour shift just like everybody else in the office. And if I got one question, I got 24 questions about the city of Rocky Mount while I was working at the state fair. So I think people, look, people in a community, they know what's going on in their community. And, you know, they've been let down by the governance structure in Rocky Mount, in my opinion. And I think the audit bears that out.
Given that the former carry time manager is being investigated by the Wake County District Attorney's Office, I know you've had conversations with the DA's office. Have you had this conversation related to Rocky Mount, and do you believe, given that you're describing efforts here to subvert city council with some of this spending, there potentially could be criminality here?
We've had discussions with all levels of government. I'm going to leave it at that at this point.
Including the DA?
All levels of government, Bill.
How is the cooperation with the city council Rocky Mountain District Department?
They were cooperative. The city council was very cooperative. We interviewed every council member and got feedback from them. That doesn't mean that that they shouldn't be held responsible for lack of oversight. That's the conclusion our team made. Yes, Bill.
A little bit longer question. Going back, Amy Staples, the one-time finance director, she left for Wilson. Now we're revolving door finance directors. This previous manager's finance director was actually fired by the interim manager after he reached his settlement, or right about that time. And they now have a finance director who was that, and also we had an internal auditor that resigned inexplicably. Could you elaborate whether the lack of stability in the finance director position and this auditor leaving was something that set off alarms in y'all's mind?
Well, yeah, I mean, it's alarming when you have that kind of revolving door in the finance department and internal audit department of a municipality. Again, I want to, you can look at what's happened in Winston-Salem and Forsyth County Schools, for example. And what's needed here is take off the coat, roll up the sleeves, and get to work. I mean, that's what needs to happen in the city of Rocky Mount, period. It's not going to happen tomorrow. It's not going to happen next week, and it's not going to happen next month. It's going to take a lot of work across all levels of city government to right things in Rocky Mount.
You said you're not in a position to say you're necessarily hopeful that they're, you know, on the right track at this point. What would make you hopeful that they can really turn this around?
I think public acceptance of the problem, as well as some concrete actions, and taking these recommendations and moving forward would put them in a good position moving forward. All right, anybody got any questions?
Yeah.
Yep.
I have some questions. So last week, there were, Bob Rucho stepped down from elections. Do you think that the law prohibits members of the State Board of Election from donating to or endorsing candidates? Do you think the same law should apply for the state auditor or whoever at the time is overseeing the elections?
So Senator Rucho served on the state board. I was made aware of issues that did not comply with the statute and did not live up to the expectations of members of the state board. He and I had a conversation and mutually agreed that he would step down. And as has been reported, and as everyone now knows, Angela Hawkins, former chair of the board in Wake County, was appointed to replace former Senator Rucho in that position. Her position was filled by Donna Williams from Wake County, and then a new board chair was also installed at Wake County. So within 21 hours of me finding out about that situation, we were able to take decisive action there. I would say this, no one ever asked Roy Cooper about his endorsement of candidates at all levels when he was governor and when the governor had appointment authority over the Board of Elections. So the answer is, you know, particularly with respect to counting votes and certifying elections, the auditor, myself, I have no role in that. The roles and responsibilities of the state board are very clear, and our state board put that out in detail, more detail, I would say, than has ever been put out before. They've also taken strong steps on transparency, broadcasting, for example, live, the counting and acceptance or non-acceptance of provisional ballots, which is an additional transparency and accountability effort that our state board and that Director Hayes at the state board has added to our elections.
So do you think Senator Rucho should have known better our records were showing that he donated $1,300 to candidates?
Yes, I think he would admit that. Yes, I think he would say, should have known better.
And then my last question is, Sam Page, Rockingham County Sheriff, said that you should recuse yourself from overseeing this election process because of your support for Senate Leader Bill Berger. I know we've talked about putting political parties, leaving them at the door. Do you think that what do you have to say to him saying that you should recuse yourself?
Well, there's nothing to recuse myself from. The process is clear, and in fact, the process did not involve the governor previously making any decisions, and it does not involve the auditor making any decisions. Those decisions are made by the appointed board. So there's nothing to recuse myself from.
More comment. I want to thank you and your team for coming into Rocky Mountain and doing a very, very deep, comprehensive dive into our challenges. And we appreciate your leadership and the leadership of your team. Hopefully, we can start turning that battleship around. Thanks you.
Bill, I got time for one more question.
Okay. And this may tie into the utilities, but I'm kind of curious, going back to your predecessor, Beth Wood's on it, but one thing that's been recurring and keeps recurring, and when I talk to people, there are people that are upset when certain city councilman got $47,000 write-off. There were even questions, I think, whether he was still not paying utilities. He's never really cleared his name on it. He gives speeches and everything else. Are y'all looking to see whether officials or any people are getting any special or favorable treatment or even write-offs?
Bill, we're looking at the utility department from top to bottom, and we're doing that with our information systems audit, which is the most efficient way to do that, because that is, for all intents and purposes, a fairly automated system, even though it could probably stand some updates, although you know, that's not necessarily a ding on Rocky Mountain. There's a lot of places that could stand some updates in computer technology, but, yeah, we are doing an information systems audit.
Thanks, guys.
All right, appreciate it. Thank you.